everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to learn the future, active and passive. So let's get started with the video. Now we have introduction to future, active and passive. So we use the future tense to talk about actions that will happen later. Sentences can be written in active voice or passive voice. In active voice, the subject does the action. In passive voice, the action is more important than the doer. Examples: active, the teacher will be checking the homework. Passive, the homework will be checked by the teacher. Now, this is the introduction to future, active and passive voice. So, we use future tense to talk about the actions that will happen later. So future tense is used to talk about the actions will happen later, not now but later in the future. The future sentences can be written in active voice or passive voice. The subject does the action in active voice and the action is more important than the subject in the passive voice. Now these are some examples of active and passive. Active is the teacher will be check the homework. So in the active one, it is said that the teacher will check the homework, which is in future. And in the passive, it is the homework will be checked by the teacher, which is also in future. These are the both same sentences, but they are staged in active and passive voice. Now let's move on to what is active voice. The subject performs the action. It is direct and easy to understand. Most daily conversations use active voice. So it is given that what is active voice. So the meaning of active voice is over here, which is the subject performs the action, which means the action is performed by the subject. It is direct and easy to understand. You can understand active voice very easily, and it is too direct. Now, most of the daily conversations use active voice. Examples: Ria will complete the project. The players will win the match. My father will buy a new car. So these are the examples. Now let's move on to the formula. Subject plus will plus verb, which is in base form, plus an object. If you use this formula, it will create a active voice. Now these active voices are in many forms, like past tense, present tense and the future. Now let's move on to steps to change active into passive. First, find the object. Move it to the beginning. 3. Add will be. Use the past participle of the verb. 5th, add by plus subject. Now, if you do these, your active voice will turn into a passive voice. Example of an active voice: the students will clean the classroom. Passive voice: the classroom will be cleaned by the students. Now this is how to change active voice into passive voice. So it is a very easy example. Now let's move on to some more examples. Active into passive: the police will catch the thief, which will turn into the thief will be caught by the police. Second is they will organize a meeting, and in the passive voice it's a meeting will be organized by them. And in the third one, it's the company will launch a new product. In passive voice, it's a new product will be launched by the company. Now let's move on to when do we use passive voice. So to use passive voice, these are some examples how to use passive voice. When the doer is unknown, when the action is more important, in news reports and formal writing, in announcements and official notices. So passive voice can be used when the doer is unknown. That means you don't know who is doing the action. And times when action is more important, or in news reports and formal writing. It is also used in some places where you have to show these things. Now let's look at the examples. The results will be announced tomorrow. A new bridge will be built next year. Now these are the examples of passive voice. I hope you understand it. Now let's move on to common mistakes to avoid. So first one is using version 1 instead of version 3. Now second one is forgetting be. And the third is keeping the objects in the same place. Now let's look at the example. One which is wrong and one which is correct. So first look at the wrong one. The work will completed by Ravi. It is missing B in the example. Now the correct one is the work will be completed by Ravi. Now the second one is the correct one because there is a be which is used in some of the sentences, and the wrong one does not contain be. That's why it is wrong. Now let's move on to a quick recap. What we learned today: active voice, subject performs the action; passive voice, subject receives the action; future active formula, which is subject plus will plus version 1 plus object. Now future passive formula is object plus will be plus version 3 plus by and plus subject. Use passive voice when the action is more important. Now we have learned that subject performs the action is a passive voice and subject receiving the action is a passive voice. Now the future active formula is subject plus will plus version 1 plus object. Now you can use this formula to create a sentence with future active. Now with future passive you can use object plus will be plus version 3 plus by plus subject. Now use passive voice when the action is more important. Now you can use the passive voice in, as we stated, official notices or announcements. Now here are some practice questions for you. A. Identify the voice. Now the first one is the letter will be posted tomorrow. This is an active voice because there is a subject in the first one and the action in the last part of the sentence. Now let's move on to the second one, which is Rohan will complete the assignment. Now this is also an active voice because there is a doer and an action. The doer comes the first part of the sentence and the action is in the last part of the sentence. Now the third one is the match will begin, watched by thousands of people. Now as we have learned before that, if the doer is unknown, then the voice will be passive voice. So this is why this third one is a passive voice. Now let's move on to question number V. Change into passive voice. So first one is, the manager will approve the plan. Now to turn it into a passive voice, you have to bring the doer and the last part of the sentence. Then the sentence will change into, the plan was approved by the manager. And the second one also carries the same thing that we used in the first one. The children will decorate the hall will turn into, the hall will be decorated by the children. And the third one, the chef will prepare the lunch will turn into, the lunch will be prepared by the chef. Now let's move on to the question C. Change into active voice. Now the first one is, project will be completed by the engineers. You have to turn it into active voice from passive voice. To do that, you have to take this doers and move it into the first part of the sentence, which will turn it into, the engineers will complete the project. And the second one also carries the same formula, which will turn, the books will be distributed by the teachers into, the teacher will distribute the books. And the third one, the room will be cleaned by the workers will turn into, the workers will clean the room. Now I hope you understand now how to use the future, active and passive voice. So thank you everybody for listening. Now if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe and share it with your friends. But till the next video, stay tuned and bye bye.